compared to mine.
I trusted you.
You needed faith, my dear Ichabod, and I gave it to you. All I had to do was play my part.
I've hoped for this day to find the reason for what I've been given. The reason was you.
I gave you the answer so many times. I practically spelled it out for you. A good puzzle misleads you. It sends you in one direction. It fools you into thinking you know what's going on. But once you've discovered the trick, you see that there's often a hidden meaning. Only half mortal. I am, after all, what you made me. Mother and father.
Hey everyone, this is the Headless podcast live event. Sorry, we had a few technical problems coming on, and just waiting for John Noble to call in. And I've got Zach with me. Hi, Zach.
Hey everybody.
Clip that I just did. I did that like it was the most epic moment I think on television, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what do you think? That whole Season 1 finale was just epic and amazing. What did you think? Because I never talked to you about the pilot, about the Season 1.
Oh, well, it was definitely it's very rare nowadays that you have moments in TV that make you go, ah! And that was definitely one of them.
Well, it was so funny because when, Orlando Jones was on social media and was like, everybody, videotape you, your reactions as you watch the Season 1 finale, and then to see everyone was just doing the same thing. We were all just freaking out. I was like, no, oh my God. And then he's Jeremy too. I was like, no way. It was just such a cool moment. And it was a well-kept secret too. I mean, there was no hint of any of that.
No.
That he was, Jeremy. So it was really, really great. So, well, let's talk about, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ichabod Crane versus The People versus Ichabod Crane. I rewatched it again today. And so how do you think he's going to come back? I mean, he's in that gobbledygook.
Use the technical term.
Still in the vault. Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing
So
like I said when we podcasted it, there seemed to be some of his reactions during the illusion seemed to be from Henry, not from because the demon when it's sad when Ichabod was talking about certain things. So it may be because because Henry is such a powerful, because he is a spirit survived death. I could believe the connection somehow woke him up or something like that. Because even because he's more powerful than some spider demon, so maybe he used the connection to bridge his way back or something.
Well, yeah, I mean remember he's still a warlock. I mean he's
right,
a warlock.
Exactly.
So he was, half which obviously, yeah, he was considered that horseman of war, but that kind of went away once Moloch was, defeated. And so he's half human and half warlock, really. So
actually, think of it. Headless still retained his powers. Maybe he retained a piece of at least of the power of war.
That's possible.
Because Headless was still if Moloch completely dissipated, Headless just would have keeled over or something.
Right. No, that's true. Well, and two, I think he's part of maybe Malcolm's army. Malcolm is he's kind of he's got an army. He's mounting an army. He's got he's got, you know, Robbie K character, whatever, and he's got Headless, and then he found a way to, you know, bring back, quote, you know, the Horseman of War, which, you know, I don't know if he's going to be the Horseman. He could, because, I mean, they're still considering Headless as the Horseman of Death.
Well, we don't know what happened to Headless yet.
Right, I know. Ugh, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And then Mantis tries to get it, like make his own horseman.
Yeah, or he can. Let's see, what horseman we saw the Horseman of Pestilence. We haven't. Which horseman haven't we seen? What if he ends up being one of the horsemen, Malcolm?
I forget which one, because there's two different.
It's Famine.
Was it Famine? Because I think they named someone. Because there's more because there's different versions of who the fourth horseman is. So I'd have to go back and watch. I forget who because I think they said someone else, but I'd have to double check.
I don't know, but you know, if that's the case, let's just say so then we have Headless, we got Horseman of War back. If Malcolm ends up being one of the four horsemen, and then they get Pestilence back, I mean, we don't know. Pestilence supposedly was destroyed. Remember, way back when in John Doe. That
was he destroyed or just defeated? They weren't really specific, I think, exactly. Well, that episode was that was out there. That was an out there episode.
Yeah, that was the whole Roanoke thing and everything. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, that's other than doing like what we were talking about last night, the Legion of Doom type situation, you know, having his own army. You know, and I've kind of been wondering if they are going to move forward, you know, if they're going to leave it out as a cliffhanger. Because my thinking is, if they were canceling the show, I think we would be hearing it by now. I think they would be advertising that, don't you?
Well, you never know. Sometimes they leave it to they leave it to the very end. Sometimes even the people in charge of the show don't know until like the second it airs, you know?
Right. Oh, that's true. Oh my gosh. I wonder if what's gonna happen.
Wolfman Zach here to take care of you. Sleepy Hollow has had an interesting, I mean, season 1 was a powerhouse, season 2 the showrunner left, and it just nosedived. Season 3, they brought in Clifton Campbell, the showrunner, who was known for White Collar and The Glades, who's very, very good. He's done what he can. I mean, this is his first supernatural thriller, so it's interesting. And I think this season has been interesting, and I think what we have to do as viewers is we have to accept that this is a new show. Like it's almost like a reboot or reimagining, as it were. So if we look at it like that, we can try to overcome the mistakes of the past. Although one thing I will never forgive them for is how they completely screwed over Katya Winter, and I hope she's found better work by now. But I am very much looking forward to this idea of an evil team. I cannot, because they're going. I have this feeling they're going to do some interesting things. Oh, I heard.
Okay. Yep, that was me. Okay, he's going to call in at any second now. So
thank God.
I will. So I'll do. I guess he's like. They just like, hey, Chrissy. He knew it was me, so he's like, okay, I'll tell him to call in. I guess I don't know if he tried calling in ahead of time, and then we were having some technical difficulties or whatever. So anyway, but as soon as he called in, I just did a little teeny intro here to kind of. So anyway, so what were you were talking about? You were talking about what you're interested in the hopefully the Legion of Doom angle.
Oh yeah. We should come up with a good name for them too.
I know we need to come up with something. I think it would be great if we could. Oh my goodness! Oh gosh.
Dry Stitches Dreadful. I don't know.
Yeah. No, we gotta come up with like Malcolm's malicious. I don't know. We'll have to come up with like. Yeah, there you go, Miscreant. Superhero. Well, they have abilities. Well, we don't know actually. If
because all we know
supernatural.
Because he just says he feels more powerful. We don't even know what that means.
I know they sort of haven't fleshed that out yet. So
you know what's funny? I just realized I can't wait to see Molly's reaction when she finds out that he's a villain now.
Oh, well, I mean, you were right. Like, we were talking about it last night. It's weird that she didn't mention him to her mom or to Ichabod or anybody.
No, I mean, the pop star guy, whatever the heck I'm not sure. They weren't even clear what he was, really, but, like, imagine when she finds out, like, one of her favorite, I can just see her going, I'm unfollowing you.
Yeah, I know. It's like, that guy, I know. Well, she's, of course, infatuated with him. I mean, he's a YouTube sensation. Okay, so I think John just called in. So let me do my little intro here. Are you ready? All right. So award-winning John Noble has made his mark on big screen, in television, and even on Broadway, starring in a myriad of productions, including the hit saga Lord of the Rings, Fringe, Elementary, and, of course, Sleepy Hollow. Fans were ecstatic to see his return as Ichabod Crane's son, Henry Parrish, on Sleepy Hollow, and we're honored that he has agreed to join us for this very special edition of the Headless podcast. So, without further ado, hi, John.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you so much for joining me and us again. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Pleasure, mother.
So I have my co-host with me, Zach.
G'day, Zach. How are you?
Much honor to meet you, John.
Thanks, mate.
Yes, definitely. So, all right. So I'm going to get into it right away. I need to ask you, because I was lucky enough I did get to talk to you right after the season 1 finale, and thank you for that. It was such a great convo. But in season 2, I mean, what was your take on the series? I mean, there were so many. It just went off the deep end. I mean, from your perspective, how did you feel about all of that?
Look, I think it was. I think there's an unfortunate perfect storm of things happened in the sense that, you know, we had a showrunner come in to take over from Alex. It was Alex Kurtzman's show, and that's no easy task, particularly with something as complex. Fantastic.
Right.
So the first season I thought was splendid. I honestly, I don't really think that people knew where to take it. I don't think so. And bear in mind, I think making a series out of Sleepy Hollow is a very difficult task. And you know, well, this has been discussed widely. We went off the rails, and I know in my case, I said to the producer, I said, look, this is not working. For me at present, it's just going nowhere, and that's when I went off and did Elementary. And it was, it was just, no hard feelings. God knows it. I'm glad it was someone else writing it, not me. It was terribly difficult. So, what went wrong was what you said. I mean, it was a whole series of things just didn't click. Look, there's much more to it than that, and you know some of it, and you've probably spoken about it on the show. In terms of, all that. Lots and lots of things. But I just felt that it was time. Myself and Katja Winter, in particular, just thought, okay, maybe something else for a while.
Well, you know, it was tough being, on social media and all of that. But what do you think about the fact that they've moved the series to DC this season? What do you think about that? Now that, of course, Abby is gone, so that the series is now.
Oh yeah, DC.
They're located in DC. Yeah. What do you think of that?
Well, look, it's a logical step. If you're going to look at that period of time, and I don't know how many of us are students of the Revolution. I certainly am, and it was an extraordinary time. And ultimately, the people that he talks about and he deals with, these were the most powerful people in the world. It was based around Washington D.C. So it makes sense that he's there rather than being tucked away trying to create an event every week in Sleepy Hollow, which is a little tiny place.
Right.
So I thought it was. I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, the new. it's been kind of strange of course, without Abby. I mean, Nikki left the show, and what did you think when you heard about that? Because we were devastated.
Yes, it's a really unusual thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
For a lead actress to leave a show. Usually that's the end of the show if that happens.
Right.
But old warriors like me know that no one's indispensable or irreplaceable. So you might be the lead, but doesn't mean to say you can't be moved on, and that keeps us very grounded, and grateful really for the position we've got. All of which is nothing to do with Nicole. I'd not seen Nicole for a while, and then I heard the news, and I dropped her an email and just I didn't ask what had happened, but I just sort of reached out to her. So I did after the election too. You just keep in contact with people and say, hey, you need me, you know where I am, and that means you mightn't for 10 years, but I meant that. So that was my reaction to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a shocker for us too, across the board, definitely. Anyway, but yeah, I mean the new this season has been very interesting actually, and I do think that bringing it to DC, and you're right. I mean, he deals with the founding fathers, so it totally makes sense for him to be there. And I like the vault and all of that they've created.
Yes.
It's actually isn't that cool? I absolutely love that.
That's superb.
So I was glad for that, and so how did they come about to ask you to come back?
The true story, it sounds like fake news, but it's not. Tom and I were doing a Comic-Con in London, and and Tom and I are friends, and we get on really well. We always love to see each other. And as we were chatting, we were talking about changes, and we both thought that the father-son was completely unresolved in season 2. Given that there is, Tom and I really seriously love working against each other, and in season 2 we had very little, and so both of us were going, well, why are you doing this? Why aren't you giving us? What did we do wrong? So anyway, we were chatting about that, and Tom, I think, said, to come back, and I said, I wouldn't mind actually. And it was sort of, and he said, really? And he said, I'm going to talk to the producers. And so the producer said, yep, sure, that's a great idea. And hence, and it's an interesting re-entry. It doesn't feel wrong, and it doesn't feel, to me, it doesn't feel like it's just an add-on. It feels like something integral to the story, and we'll come to some. It's lovely, isn't it, when you do a series to be able to tie up loose ends. And we had that great fortune with Fringe to be able to tie up a lot of loose ends because we were told that would, in that case, that would be our last 13. That was fantastic because we just and bring it to a denouement, and felt very satisfying. Now, I don't know. I've got no idea what's happening in Sleepy Hollow as to whether it lives or breathes, or I suppose it'll depend. Fox will have a look at their programming and see. I don't know how the show went this season. It held. Oh no, I did. It actually held its own, didn't it? It didn't drop off at all. That's what I'm told. Which is pretty good, really, considering that the lead actress has gone. And and the new cast is, the way that they've done this is really interesting because, Molly is like 11. She's the second witness, so it's kind of a very different dynamic coming back. But I was
very
really
much
happy
a reimagining.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Zach?
I'll say it's almost like a reboot reimagining. Like it's almost like a different direction for the show.
Do you know what though, Zach? I think that when you're doing series television, I think really you need to do that every season, just to re-energize. If particularly if you're doing 22 episodes, that's a huge journey. And then it's great, and again, it's satisfying Fringe. And indeed, Elementary, they always do a reboot by bringing in a new major character. And mine was last year's, and it's only ever brought in. And that's that's the showrunner's ploy there. He says, no, I'm going to bring in an absolutely major character, and maybe if down the track, if someone's available, they may come back sometime or other. But generally, we're in and out of there in 1 year. So there is a reboot, and I think it's a very sensible thing to do. You've still got the same core elements, and but you give it, what did you say, a reinvention? Is that what you said, or reimagining?
Either works.
Reimagining. But yeah, but yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is just the fact that, I always love seeing you and Tom work together because, you guys are so great. And I actually, recently I went and I rewatched a couple of the, Henry Ichabod scenes, from season 2 actually, and season 1, but the two of you together in a scene is just, it's like magic because you're both just so good at what you do. And so, I really was looking forward to seeing, that matching wits against, Henry and between Henry and Ichabod.
And that certainly happens. In material when I go back. So look, it is a joy, and I mean it's cliche. It's cliche as hell to say that we have good chemistry. People use that term all the time.
Right.
Tom and I do. And we're both theatre men. Trained in the theatre, so we come from a common background which has its own language, and we understand each other as it is. And so we have that reference point, if you like. And we often talk about wandering off to do a play together, that sort of thing. And so that's huge as against, say, working with an actor that doesn't come from that background. There's a whole slab of that I can't share with them because it's not common ground. So
right.
I mean, and Tom is as I said, is a terrific stage actor, as well as a hell of a nice man.
Amazing.
He's the nicest man.
Yeah, he is.
Well, actually, speaking of that, like
awesome.
Being a different age than him, what was it like for you two? Because you were playing his son. I mean, what was that like for you?
It's on face value. You say you got to be kidding. You start to wonder if he's prematurely aged. What's going on? And then you see him somewhere in season 1 crawling out of a hole in the earth and covered in mud and dirt. And you think, what's going on here? Heavens! Seriously. Oh God, I remember that morning.
Right.
The morning I had to come out, find the church where he found his name. I was barefooted and just covered in rags. It was so cold, I cannot tell you.
Really?
One step in, and I was barefoot. One step onto that grass, and it felt like I was in an icebox. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I remember it.
Oh my God! Well, I could imagine. I mean, the location shoots. You're out there in the elements, and I mean, when you came up out, you looked pretty gnarly there. I gotta say.
Oh, cool.
So, what was the makeup like? Makeup must have been a pain in the butt for that scene.
No, because Corey, the guy that does the makeup, and he also did all the special effects. Well, Corey's a whiz. I mean, he just loves his work so much, and we're mutual admirers. I mean, I think his work's amazing, and he thinks mine's good. And so, when it came to work together on that, it was I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing him do what he did. Didn't take that long, really. I've had work.
Well, what is one of your favorite aspects of Sleepy Hollow and filming wise for you, being part of the show?
Yeah. Well, look, there's two things that come immediately to mind. One is, I did have a close relationship with Tom and the rest of the cast too, as much as possible. So that was lovely. But more than that, as equally important as that, when I landed back in Atlanta, so many of the crew were old friends. It was so wonderful. And I'm going, oh my God, these are people that had shifted from North Carolina. And that was just a joy, catching up with old friends and picking up the conversation.
I bet.
It was marvelous. So but I find the same thing when I work in New York. go onto a show there, and invariably I'm coming across the same crew members. And it's really such fun to walk into somewhere in the middle of that big place and go, "Oh, g'day, Bob, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
Friends, you know.
Exactly. Well, I know Zach wants to ask you about Elementary for sure. Go ahead, Zach. You have
I actually also do one. I do a podcast. Well, I have one day one. It's funny because when we were, because I've done the podcast, I've talked to so many people on the show. I'm such a Sherlock Holmes fan. We talked all the time. We knew Sherlock's father was a character. We were like, he wasn't introduced, of course, till the end of the season when you came in. We always said, who could possibly play him? And no one even, we knew it had to be someone, a great actor with depth and character. No one thought to, put you for it. And you, of course, are perfect. So what was it like preparing to play the father of such a, there is very few people more iconic than him. What was it like preparing to play the father of such a character and working with Johnny?
That was really, that was very complicated. Fortunately, they gave me sufficient wit to explore with that character, and I sort of came up with some thoughts and put them to them, and they came back with ideas, so that we finished up with this unfortunately very timely character in the world today. Those that live above government and above the law, and that was good. But yeah, I enjoyed it because I had to research a lot of the stuff without going into boring details about it. A lot of reading on the economics and the current political trends and what they call neoconservatism, which you may know about, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, these are the only men that rule the world, and
right.
They're a powerful lot. And he was one of them. So that was the first bit, and it was great. It was from a personal point of view, it was exactly what I needed, because I was constantly getting more and more frustrated by what was happening in the world, and I didn't quite know the reason for it, because when I was at university, we all studied Keynesian economics, and it's no longer the case. I mean, it's dead in the water years ago. So anyway, I found that interesting to do it. Johnny, then playing. Well, you see, I had to make. I felt that Johnny's character was certainly on the spectrum. I'm not sure where he was on the spectrum. You know what I mean by that? The what's it called? Autism. The autism spectrum. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And very, very difficult, and hence his. Which I have to say, I mean, Johnny Lee Miller does an astonishing job. He really does. He's so focused, man. That's a tough role to maintain that week after week after week. That bitter, twisted man that he is. So, I mean, playing against him was always a challenge, because both men were very bright. Both men had a whole lot of baggage, and it was a good old battle between them each and every time. And you couldn't. You look forward to those scenes because there's no room to breathe in them. They are so intense, the scenes between Johnny and his dad, and so that was always something to look forward to. And you sort of finish the end of it like you've just run a marathon each scene. But it was Johnny Lee Miller. The whole cast actually. The whole cast is amazing. Lucy Liu's just a treasure. And
she would be fun to work with, I'm sure.
Man, one of my favorite scenes with you and Aiden, when he essentially Gregson goes in and threatens Morrow. This is just some New York cop, and he's threatening one of the most powerful men in the world. It was a great. You know that Aiden and I only did one together when we were both. Apparently, I mean, I was really looking forward to working with him. I mean, really, really. And apparently, he was with me. So they gave us this scene, and we couldn't wait to do it and get stuck into it and do some inventing. So that was a very memorable day for me, just to get to share a stage with Aiden, because I've been an admirer for a long time. So that was that. And the other young man I didn't get to work with at all. So it was only the three of those principals I worked with. But they were good. They were very good, actually. And so I enjoyed that year.
Well, it's interesting because obviously in Fringe, it was father-son role, right? And then in Elementary, you had a father-son role that was way different. How hard was that to sort of differentiate your characters,
Yeah.
within those relationships? Was it difficult?
it's you know what it is, because it's technical. It's a technical process of, you have to play the character's truth, not your own perceptions of it. And so,
right.
Technically, you go inside. And I don't look in the mirror when I'm doing this preparation. Do you know what? That would throw me. I just think about this young man, this 17-year-old young man that was trapped inside that the old man's body, and hence his strange behaviours. This unruly, rebellious youth, full of hatred and bile towards his parents. Well, there's no news in that, and that's what I concentrated on, as against being an old dude.
Right.
It's just technical, really.
It must be hard. I don't know. I'm amazed at how well you do that. I mean, you're able to, because it seems to me, I mean, obviously you've played so many characters over the years in so many different things. How you know, it is technical, but how in your mind do you you're able to do that with such grace. Really, it's incredible. So. I'm amazed. How do you do that? I don't know.
Are you asking in this process, Christine?
It is technical, and it's in preparation, and I think for me now it's so much second nature that to actually articulate it, I have to stop and think, well, what do I do? And my wife often says to me, John, how do you do this? You never. She says, you never appear to do any work. You never appear to look at your lines. You sort of wonder about in a bit of a daze, but the truth of the matter is that I don't. What I do is I read it, and then I find out I use that as the basis for finding character. Lines are at the easy part of it, But that's finding that character, so that you don't need to have a script in your hand to do that. You just have to let it sit and simmer and stew, which I do.
Right.
Same with certain phrases. I mean, there'll be a phrase sometimes that looks really difficult. You don't know how to do it, so I'll just let it sit. And then suddenly I'll be driving on, oh, got it, thanks very much, got the answer.
Right.
Quite a few occasions. You've got to trust the process, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a creative process.
Because like Fringe in particular, well, you've done this. You've played both hero and villain, and even in Fringe, in a way, you got to play two different versions of one character. Do you have a preference to hero or villain? Do you have one you like playing more than the other?
No. I think it's all to do with the perception, isn't it? Because someone that is a villain in this day and age and in this place may be a hero in another place. So it's a social thing, really, and yourselves as young people, how quickly the social mores are changing, just in terms of the way that we treat. Well, forget the last few months, but prior to that, the way that we treat each other, and so yes, it's to do. No, I don't, and I don't think of them. I mean, when I played Denethor in Lord of the Rings, it was that was a tough role, and so I just had to go quietly, and deeply inside of that father to find out what in God's name happened to him. And I did, and hence I was. That
was just crazy. I mean, you have to you're throwing your son in the fire and stuff. It's just what is going on here? And to be able to sort of adapt your character from the actual novel, was it difficult doing that? Because Tolkien is like a god practically, and the saga was just so well known. What was that like for you, being able to you did an amazing job.
I didn't overthink that. And I didn't, I didn't try to look like the perceptions of that character because it was always beard and so forth. And so I rejected that. No, God, I was very fortunate, that character was very fortunate to have a lot of original Tolkien text. So a lot of my speeches were almost grabs from the book, which was quite difficult language actually, but it was also rather beautiful language. So I was blessed in that sense.
Yeah.
I didn't have to make it up,
And in that film in particular, they remained so true to the script. I mean, the writers had the books opened in front of them at all times. And so if I went to talk to them about something, and I'd say, look, I've done some research here, blah, 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 and I'll tell them where I'd say, okay, well, that's a good idea. But if I'd invented something from, say, Stephen King, they would have said, well, great idea, but no. That show.
What was it like? What was it like working with Peter Jackson? Because he's incredible.
Well, on that occasion, I was. You see, all of us at times in our life have what I call purple patches. Those times when we just go, we are better than ourselves. We are just at our best, or something or other, or everything falls into place. Peter Jackson was astonishing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. J.J. Abrams has been the closest in terms of intellect and vision, I think, that I've come across. And Peter's preparation was astonishing. And so I sat in awe of the man. To be honest with you, at that time, as a director and a producer, I just thought it was astonishing what he was, and the purity with which he was able to, the surety and purity with which he was able to approach it. And, of course, working with Ian Leslie on the camera, and so that was a great combination. Sadly, not there anymore, but still. Astonishing. Peter Jackson, on that occasion, anyone I've worked with him, I thought was astonishing. And I do know how he did it, but my God, it was to pull that off and then to work for 3 or 4 years on it solidly, just making it better and better, is amazing. And he did it, and he credited that.
It was. Yes. I always think that. I feel like Tolkien was like guiding him during the creation of the saga. I mean, that's sort of my own.
Right. Well, I think that because there was resistance initially from the Tolkien family, and also from a lot of fans, people didn't think anyone could adjust it. And so I think there was certainly something to prove there as well. To say, well, you know what, we're also fans and we want to do this right. And that's what came across to me. And it finished up the Tolkien family actually saying, well done. Despite the fact it was touch and go. They didn't want it done. And so he had to fight that battle. But he was very, very true to Tolkien. And he may well have been channeling he was certainly channeling something. And day after day after day after day, these ridiculous hours, running around in freezing New Zealand with his shorts and boots on, just amazing. So I can't say any more about him except for that. And but he also assembled around him. He also assembled a cast and a crew that were bloody amazing too. And
oh my God, yes.
Just about all of New Zealand was involved in it, by the way.
Yeah, oh my God, it must have been beautiful there. I mean, I would love to go to New Zealand just to see. I'd love to do that tour. If they do the Lord of the Rings tour, that would be amazing. But how cool is it? Go ahead.
No, that's right. How cool is it? What?
Oh, okay. Zach, did you have some more? You wanted to ask him about your video, the voiceovers that you've done
actually,
too.
Before that, I have it's funny because we were talking about Denethor. That's pretty much the role that introduced you to, say, the world or even America. Is there a role you have a personal favorite, or at least one you'd prefer to be that we would know you for?
From my past work, Walter Bishop, fairly sure. I think from Fringe, if that's what you mean, of the roles I've done, available to American audiences, I think Bishop was by far the most complex of them, and it's just a gift of a character to an actor. So, and I loved him. I still love him.
Yeah, I mean, and I wish they would make a movie, a Fringe movie. That would be amazing. I think they should. I think they should try and do that.
Well, I think if someone thought that there was some money to be made, they may have tried it. They would have looked at it, surely, but then said, well, we don't know that there's going to be a big enough audience for this show, so no, let's not do it. I think that's probably what happened. I'll be almost sure. If there was money there, they would have done it, all right? Or if they could get the cast back together.
Yeah.
But I certainly would have been there. And so, who knows? I think it gets down to money always, that sort of stuff. Never mind. It stays very fresh in my memory. I don't know what happened to the X-Files movie. Did that do any good?
The X-Files.
Movie.
What do you think about the X-Files coming back? I was so excited. It's like one of my favorite shows ever. They should have you be on that show too. But then you could guest on that on the next the next installation of it.
Yes, before I retire and walk off with the Walking Dead somewhere or other and disappear. Yeah, no, I'd like
I could totally see that.
Yeah, it'd be cool to do a guestie on particularly on X-Files, but these things. Yeah, who knows?
Never say never. You never know.
Oh, I don't say anything. I really, honestly, I don't say anything. I just sit and wait, and every morning when I wake up and I try to project into the future, I say, "Oh, John, come on, stop it." Just keep yourself keep yourself healthy and well, and get on with it, which I do. So.
Well, as an actor, I can definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like Christine mentioned, your voice, and just like you've done, because of course you have a very distinctive press. But like, there's a couple I wanted to bring up. Like you've done a few video games. I mean, you got to be the Scarecrow in the Batman is But the video game I want to bring up is L.A. Noire. You've done video game work before, but this was different, and you actually had to act and do motion capture. What was that like for you, and seeing your likeness in the game?
Well, that story is a longer story than that. The guy that wrote and produced that is also from Australia, and years ago they contacted me and said, "Oh, John, will you come in for a day, please, mate? We just want to test. We want to test a certain technique on you. Do you mind?" And they paid me well, and so I went in and they did that thing where you have to have your hair all slicked back completely, and they used that to get the talking animation going. Anyway, it was an experiment at that stage, and then I was over here, and they called me back for another one at Christmas time, and they said, "Please come back, we've got something else, John, will you please come back?" Anyway, another year went past, and then I got this call saying, "Hey, John, guess what? We're going to actually now film it in LA, will you come and do it?" And I spoke to my producers, and they said, "Yep." No, actually, no, tell them in the break. So I was able to go and do this stuff, which was all new at the time. It was all very new, and most of the cast of Mad Men were in, actually. And it was, I don't know, just doing anything like that is so exciting. I tell you, it's just being at the cutting edge with some of that stuff is amazing, and having to act as and seeing that foul-mouthed man swearing away, it was kind of fun. We had a lovely experience, and this is not said Hogsback, it's not. We must have come out about the time that we opened the first season of Lord of the Rings, I think. Oh no, of Fringe, because we were in Times Square. We got up there, and there were two billboards up there. One of them was for Fringe, and the other one was for L.A. Noire. And I thought, geez, that's cool. I like that a lot. Those big billboards at Times Square. So that's was fun.
Really cool.
Yeah. It was cool.
Well,
it was great.
And I wanted to ask you about Prosperity. I got to see it. I actually went and saw it, and it was my first off-Broadway play I've ever seen. You were fabulous in it. It was just very interesting to see you doing something live like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you? I mean, obviously you like theater. Do you have any other things that you might be doing coming up, or?
No. Well, look. No. I have been offered some things, but no, it's not. To do theatre is not the reason that I live in America. I mean, I'd run a theatre company for 10 years in Australia, so I've done an awful lot of... I learned my craft and my trade, and I didn't come into film and television until I was 40. So, I mean, I'd a latecomer, but prior to... No, I don't... most actors say, "Oh, theatre's my first love." Well, I don't think so. Not for me. I mean, I like it. I like them all. I like television.
Yeah.
I just love the pace. I love the pace of it, and the fact you have to think on your feet and go with a lot of, a lot of your first instincts. And I get off on that. I love it instead of sitting around waiting for people.
Well, yeah, because I mean, movie sets are way different because you're waiting around all the time, right? I mean, compared to television. Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine. Because and the crazy thing is, like, okay, so on Sleepy Hollow, let me just ask you, like, behind the scenes. Well, except this season so far, you were just on set, but when you've done location shoots, that must be crazy. Is it as fast paced, or is it more like, does it slow everything down, or No,
it's the pace of discovery from a performance point of view is challenging. No more or less so than being on a set. I mean, the challenge for locations is you've got to ship everything in, so you've got to bring all of your lighting, all of your sound, everything has to come with you. If you, on a farmhouse or on the 30th floor of a building, and that creates a logistic problem. But they do it. I mean, they do it and make it look easy, but it's not easy. I mean, it's extraordinary what those men and women do. And so there's something exciting about location work. I like it. And and you get to go to some rotten places, but you get to go to some interesting places as well. Very interesting.
I bet. Right. Yeah. It's amazing what they do and how they put things together. I mean, one episode of Sleepy Hollow takes 7 or 10 days to film per episode. So, it's a train and it just keeps going.
Yeah, but it sure does.
But it's a fun train to be on, right?
Well, I don't mind it. It's an 8-day shoot usually, and for these things. And then, of course, all the pre-work's done beforehand by the time we get the script, and then there's all the critical post-work, which is amazing in itself, to think that goes off to editing and getting a score composed and having the sound edit and the color. All of that's done so fast at special effects. Amazing what these people do. And done so fast. It's unbelievable. So the best of the best.
Yeah. Well, we're almost out of time already, but can you tell us, I mean, we know Henry is going to be in are you in one or two more episodes, I think, this season? I think.
Yeah.
Because we know that your gobbledygook, your face showed up in the gobbledygook at the end of
you didn't even see him.
Yeah, I didn't even. I know it was horrible. We were recording our podcast and see his face. What are you talking about? I had to go back and watch it. So obviously, I mean, do you think it is? My feeling is I think Malcolm has something to do with it, but we were talking ahead before you came on that Jeremy / Henry is a warlock, so he's part human and part warlock. So does that play a role in his return?
Yep. Don't want to say any more than that, but yes.
I know you can't tell us anything.
Before we leave, there is one more thing I wanted to off Sleepy Hollow, because you've done so. I mean, you voiced Unicron, which is a role you couldn't share with the great Orson Welles did too. But you once have you voiced Brainiac, one of Superman's classic most deadly villains. Were you familiar with him at all beforehand? And where did your take on Brainiac come from? How much was you, and how much was the original writing?
Well, I do what with those iconic roles. I do what is necessary in terms of research. I don't overdo it, and I don't try and copy anyone else. Look, the voice work is different from anything else in the sense that you don't prepare a lot. You go in there and work. I work with the director in the studio, and for example, when I went in with Scarecrow, what I'd do is I'd give them. I might come in and say, look, I've got a few possible voices. Have a listen to these, and I'd give them a few, and they'd say, hey, yeah, well, that number 3, that one there. Yeah, what do you think? Then they'd get in touch with London, where the producers were, and they'd say, what do you think of this voice? That's the one. Let's do it. So then I might come back several months later to do another shoot, and I have to be reminded of what I did. But generally, you work with directors, and they will tell you when you're spot on. They won't waste your time. If you've got it, you move on. You know what I mean? And so it's very fast and intense. And if you're good at it, and let's hope we are working at that level, it's a very intense process, quite exhausting actually, to do. Particularly do a 6-hour recording session is walk out of it like dead. But interesting, as long as your voice holds up.
Well, if you had to describe the next episode that we're going to see with you in it, can you give us like 1 or 2 words about how you would describe it? I'm trying. I mean, I don't want you to give anything out that you can't, but how would you describe it?
No, I can't. I'd rather leave it. And I enjoyed.
Okay.
I've got a couple of episodes to come, and I enjoyed them both very much. I'll tell you that much. So, well, you have to wait and see.
Nice try, Christine.
All
nice
right.
Try.
I know. I tried. What can I say? Hey, man, I wouldn't be a radio host if I didn't try, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, John. I appreciate you taking the time again to chat with us. And, I mean, huge fan of yours. I follow whatever you're in. So I'm glad you're back on Sleepy Hollow.
Chris. Thanks, Trissy.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it very much. And I'm glad you guys are still, 4 years in, still doing it. So good for you.
Yeah.
Some podcast. Yep. And Zach, good to meet you.
Well, good luck. Yeah. And good luck to you for what it is. After, hopefully, we'll see you. Hopefully, there's another season, and maybe you'll be on it next season, too. That's my hope, so we'll see.
Hey, maybe Moreland will make a return appearance at Elementary.
There you go.
Oh, no.
Never know.
Oh, my gosh. All right, my love. So lovely to talk to you, and you take care of yourself.
Yes, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Lizzie. Thanks. Bye. Bye.
All right.
Well, that was awesome.
John Noble. Wasn't it? Oh, my gosh. Isn't he great?
It's so weird because most of the roles I know him for, he's playing British, so I never hear his real voice.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, and he talks. He has a soft voice, so it makes you really want to, have to listen to him. But I mean, the Lord of the Rings stuff, that was cool. I mean,
oh god, and there's so much more. I mean, he's such a big actor. There's too much you want to talk to him about,
I know, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Like there's shows I like that he was on, that he was only on for 1 episode. So what was it like the Unsuspicious Murder Mystery that you were on for 2 seconds?
And I didn't even ask him about. Well, he was on Forever when Forever was only on for 1 season, but I saw him in that, and I was like, well, I'm not going to ask him because I like Judd Hirsch.
I wanted to also ask him about because one of his daughters is an actress too.
Oh my gosh! I mean, seriously, we could sit down for like 2 hours with him and just keep lobbing questions at him. But
the funny thing is, he agreed with me like about season 2. I'm like, wait a minute, did he hear me? Because like you talk about shows and you're like, because I never, obviously he's awesome. I never fought, but I find it so. I find it interesting. I never knew it was Katya and his decision to leave because they were like, you know what, we're done.
Well, I know. They were like, well, what the hell is going on here? And, well, I mean, yeah, and Orlando Jones said as much when I talked to him at the Comic-Con a couple years ago. He was just like, oh, my gosh. Like, they were all like, what's going on here? And I do think it – and he's right. It was Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orsi. They were sort of the driving force behind Season 1. So had they not left, I think it would have been a whole different scenario.
Oh, without a doubt. I've actually mentioned this on Flash quite a few times because it has bad villain stuff on there too. I use Katrima's character as an example of the worst changeover I have ever seen in television.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally. You remember when she became bad, right?
Oh yes.
It was when they had that. It literally was evil witch who was the actor did a very good Jonah Hex in Legends. I will give him that. But that actor, he's like, give in to your evil side, and her eyes changed, and from that moment on, she was a villain. It's like, that's it.
I know. Well, you know, it should have been. They should have had her be the villain. I mean, wouldn't it have been an interesting twist, though, coming back from season 2, like that it was.
I don't think she should have been the villain at all. I really don't.
Really, I kind of think it would have been interesting because it could.
No,
just think about it.
Storyline I said. This is what I think should have happened. Henry gets turned back into Jeremy, and Katrina has to leave with him to, like, maybe even go back to the original town or something. So they have to, and which is a good excuse for them to leave the show.
But that would have. But then, well, yeah. I mean, if they were going to leave the show, yes. I mean, they could have done it that way. I mean, I never liked the fact that, you know. I mean, I get that he had to, Ichabod had to kill her because she was going to kill Abby. So, I mean, that was kind of a win situation there. But
God, the way it was so obvious. Whoever took over for season 2 had no idea how to write for women because they just kept butting heads with Katrina and Abby. It was so, and you can have them fight, but it was so cat fight like. It was just disappointing.
Right. Well, remember in Weeping Lady, there was that moment when they're arguing in the living room, and because she was like, Henry's good, and Abby's like, are we going to do this again? And I mean, there was just too much adversarial. You either had to have her really. I don't know. I honestly, I mean, the show was supposed to be about the 2 witnesses, and it turned out to be about Ichabod Crane, and the family, the Crane family drama, and I think the crazy thing is that Mark Goffman he wrote the very first episode coming back right after the season finale, which was amazing. We love that moment, when Ichabod and Abby hug and he finds her in purgatory and they get out. That was amazing. And actually, Tempest Fugit was the season 2 finale was amazing. I mean, I thought he did a great job. He wrote that one too. So I don't understand how they go from that to the finale and be just so disorienting. It was just disorienting all throughout. And I mean, the whole thing. Anyway, but I'm so happy that
it's so weird. It's weird. One thing asking John Noble about, because like I said, he voiced the Scarecrow, he voiced Unicron, he voiced Brainiac. To me, it's like, oh my God, what a great take! But I forget that it's animated. To him, it was just coming into the studio.
Right. Oh my gosh! But yeah, he's an incredible. I mean, I actually had a couple more questions I wanted to ask, but I'm like, oh my God, we're running out of time.
I know there's so because there's a show I really like, but it was only in 1 episode, so it's like, should I ask him about this?
Yeah, I know it's hard. Well, but how cool of it was it that he took the time to chat with us? So I'm very happy about that. He's a wonderful guy. He's just really nice. Very, very. He just kind of is like whatever comes my way. I know. I'm like.
That's why I kept jumping into my questions. I'm like, you both were like so polite because you kept talking to each other and then stopping. I'm like, I'm gonna jump in right here.
Yeah, I know. I was like hoping you would do that. So, but anyway, so that's our show, I guess. So I guess we need to tell people what we need to tell people to how to find us. I guess you can find us on Twitter at Headless Podcast. I'm at Sleepy Addicts. And Zach, what's your Twitter?
Oh, Interim Insanity, and keep an eye out because there's a lot of big things in the pipeline from the Interim Insanity. Soon we'll be able to call it franchise.
Yep, and I'm your producer, so excitement. I think it's going to be good. Yay!
Good. So, a lot of big stuff.
Exactly. So I guess with that, let's end our podcast.
Shall I take us out?
Thank you so much. Yeah, take us on out.
See, I want to say this real quick before I take us out. People say, oh, they're talking over each other. The reason we all talk over each other is because there's a delay. So we start talking, and we don't hear the voice till we're halfway through. So it sounds like we're all talking over each other. I cannot tell. There have been people who have emailed my podcast going, why is everyone talking over each other? It's because of the delay.
I know. It's kind of hard.
Because we got to remember, I'm in Massachusetts and she's in Seattle, so we're not in the same room. All right.
Right. We're 3,000 miles apart, people. So, and I think John was probably calling. from L.A., I'm guessing, or New York. He might be in New York. I don't know where he was calling from, but anyway.
I almost want to be like, so, John, can I submit my headshot to you? Can you give it to somebody?
Yeah, I know, really.
But, okay. I'll
he
take
might,
it. Okay. Oh, you got to be careful doing that because you don't want to alienate. But okay.
I know.
So thank you all for. I doubt he's still listening, but thank you, John Noble, so much. I literally was interviewing the whole time in my head. I was just going, I'm talking to John Noble. That's how I am whenever I interview someone. Really, I'm like, oh my God. We are the witnesses, keeping a watchful eye as the third tribulation unfolds. And until then,